Welcome back. Last time, we looked at the basics of the grid. Now, we're going a lot deeper. We're going to peel back the layers and reveal the digital brain behind it all. These incredibly complex systems that schedule, price, and secure our electricity second by second.
So here's break it all down. We'll start with the core technology that runs the show, then get into the logic of planning for tomorrow versus acting right now. After that, we'll dive into the economics of how power gets its price, and finally, look at the financial safeguards and the market cops that make it all work fairly.
Okay, so let's start at the very heart of any modern power market. What you'll find there is a powerful, centralized software platform. You can think of it as the grid's digital engine room, just humming with data and decisions. Called the Market Management System, or MMS for short. And honestly, the best way to think about it is like air traffic control, but for electricity. It's this incredibly specialized piece of software that's constantly juggling reliability, economics, and folding in all the new renewables like wind and solar. This system, it's the foundation for literally everything else we're about to talk about.
And you know, the MMS isn't just one single program. It's a whole suite of powerful tools. It runs the energy auctions, handles all the money, the billing, the financial risk, and it coordinates the massive transmission system with your local neighborhood grid. It's really designed to manage the whole shebang, from the pure physics to the complex finance, all wrapped in some serious layers of cybersecurity.
What's really cool is that the MMS operates on two different timelines at once. It's almost like it has two minds or two brains working together. One is a long-term planner, and the other is a super fast-acting operator.
The first mind is the master planner. Its fancy name is Security Constrained Unit Commitment. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful. So everyone just calls it SUC. This engine looks at the weather forecast and demand for the next day or two and makes the huge decision of which power plants to commit. Basically, which ones need to start warming up and get ready to go. And that security constrained part is absolutely critical. It makes sure there are enough plants running to keep the lights on even if a major power line or generator suddenly fails.
The second mind is the real-time operator. This one's called Security Constrained Economic Dispatch, or SCED. So while SCUC made the big plan for tomorrow, SCED is executing it right now. It runs as often as every 5 minutes, taking that fleet of power plants SCUC turned on and giving them precise, moment-to-moment instructions on exactly how much power to generate to perfectly match supply with our demand.
And this chart just lays out the difference perfectly. SCU is the planner. It makes the big, slow, expensive on or off decisions for tomorrow to keep the whole system cheap and reliable. SCD is the operator. It makes the fast, fine-tuned how much power adjustments every 5 minutes for maximum efficiency in the moment. The genius here is separating these two decisions. It lets the system be both incredibly robust in its planning and amazingly nimble in its execution.
And so these engines are making all these operational calls. But how does any of that translate into an actual price for electricity? Well, this is where the economics get really, really fascinating.
The price is called the locational marginal price, or LMP. And you've got to understand, this concept is the absolute bedrock of modern electricity markets. This isn't just one flat price for power. No, it's the incredibly specific cost to deliver one more megawatt to a single point on the grid, right now, factoring in all the physical realities of the wires. It's a truly revolutionary idea.
So, an LMP isn't just one number. It's actually a price built from 3 different parts. First, you've got the base energy cost, which comes from the last, most expensive power plant needed to meet demand. Second is congestion. Think of it like a traffic jam on the power lines that keeps the cheapest electricity from getting where it needs to go. And third is the cost of the energy that's physically lost as heat while it travels down the wires.
And this is exactly why LMP is so powerful. These prices, changing all the time, act like economic signposts. A consistently high price in one specific area is a massive, flashing neon sign to investors that says, hey, build a new power plant or a transmission line right here. It's what guides the smart evolution of the grid.
But not all markets use the super granular LMP system. The other major approach out there reveals a completely different philosophy about how a power market should even be designed in the first place.
This really highlights a fundamental design trade-off. LMP pricing, which is common in the US, prioritizes physical accuracy. You get thousands of different price points that reflect what's actually happening on the wires. In contrast, the zonal model, which is common in Europe, sets one single price for a huge area. It creates a simpler trading zone, sure, but it has a big drawback.
It completely ignores traffic jams inside the zone, forcing grid operators to make expensive, out-of-market payments to fix the problem later.
Okay, so I know what you might be thinking. Thousands of prices changing every 5 minutes? Doesn't that sound incredibly risky for anyone trying to buy or sell power? And the answer is yes, it absolutely is. So how on earth do they manage that risk?
Well, the answer isn't to change the physics or get rid of the prices. Instead, the market creates this really sophisticated layer of financial instruments that are designed specifically to tame the unique risks of these complex power markets.
The main tool they use is the Financial Transmission Right, or FTR. The absolute best way to think about an FTR is as an insurance policy against grid traffic jams. They're purely financial contracts, not physical things, and they pay out based on the price difference caused by congestion between two specific points on the grid. If you own an FTR, you're protected from that specific source of price volatility.
And this is just so crucial. FTRs are what transform the LMP system from a cool academic theory into a practical, investable market. They provide the financial certainty that companies need to sign long-term power contracts, and that's what supports real investment in the physical grid. Without FTRs, the financial risk of the LMP system would probably be too much for many companies to handle.
All right, so with this much complexity and this much money on the line, one final critical question comes up. How do we make sure the market stays fair and nobody's cheating?
Well, every one of these organized markets has an official watchdog, the Independent Market Monitor, or IMM. Their one and only job is to constantly watch the market, analyzing just massive amounts of data. Bids, prices, generator behavior, to make sure no one is abusing their power to manipulate the outcomes.
And the IMM uses this really smart two-pronged approach. First, they're proactive with what are called ex-ante measures. These are basically the upfront rules of the game, like price caps, designed to prevent obvious bad behavior from even happening. Then, they're reactive. They use ex-post monitoring to sift through all the market data after the fact, kind of like detectives, hunting for more sophisticated or hidden manipulation schemes.
So when you just step back and look at the whole picture, you can see it's all one giant, interconnected system. It really is a symphony of software, economics, and finance. From the SUC planner and the SCED operator to the LMP price signals and the FTR safety nets, all overseen by that market watchdog. It's a stunningly complex system, all working together for one simple goal: keeping our lights on reliably and efficiently.
And that really leaves us with the big question for the future, doesn't it? The system we've just walked through is a marvel of engineering. But our grid is changing faster than ever, with this huge influx of renewables and new technologies. So the fundamental challenge now is making sure that these brilliant market designs can adapt and evolve so they can keep delivering the reliability that we all depend on.